That's why we're doing this, right?
I am so excited to be here with Taimoor Choudhry, who is the producer of Real Fur, a film that aims to make fur history. We're going to watch the dynamic trailer in a moment, but first, tell us why you made this film, sir.
Jane, it's an honor to be on your show, and thank you for this opportunity for us to show the cruelty of the animals that's going on over here. I made this movie because I saw things in pain. I saw these voiceless creatures, and I wanted to be a voice for these creatures. I wanted to be a voice for the voiceless. And yeah, when we see the trailer, we can discuss more about it.
All right, let's play that trailer right now. Real Fur. It is about to hit, and it is dramatic.
I thought Canadians looked very friendly towards animals, but the kind of cruelty that was just behind all of this fashion. How did that happen?
Fur has no future in fashion. When we buy something, it means an animal suffers or doesn't.
Canada is one of the only modern countries that doesn't have animal welfare legislation.
And now is COVID-19. They are exterminating all the minks on the farms.
I've been charged with break and enter at several of these farms.
They were in these little tiny cages. I went back to my hotel and I'll be honest, I wept.
I've never had to kill an animal to stay warm. It's so useless.
These animals can't speak, but they can scream when they're being murdered.
So powerful. And there is no need to wear fur. And now even the major designers, most of them, Michael Kors, Gucci, all the designers up and down Rodeo Drive, with a few notable exceptions, have vowed to give up fur, or are giving up fur, or have already given up fur. Neiman Marcus, Bergdorf Goodman, some of the last holdouts where there were protests as recently as several months ago, have announced they're giving up fur. Are we hitting the tipping point where fur is truly reviled and just shameful as a fashion icon?
I was speaking to Ingrid Newkirk the other day, and she said it perfectly. Fur is dead, dead, dead. Fur is gone, gone, gone. We are doing our duty. The consumers out there, the people out there have chosen, and they've showed all these brands that we will not wear these brands anymore. We're going to condemn them. And the brands, of course, they're just any corporation. They want to make money. So they saw this trend and they have gone fur free. So all these brands doing that is not a coincidence. They're listening to us. What we need now is the government to listen to us, to stop the fur farms from existing, to stop subsidizing these fur farms, because now it's no longer in our power to stop this. So this is why we need to come together as one voice and show the government that we don't want these fur farms to exist anymore.
And look into the camera, if you would. The green light, thank you so much. Perfect, those beautiful eyes. What is so crazy is that the animals we're killing, okay, are very much like our own dogs. And I can't tell you how many times I have seen somebody walk down the street in a fur trim wearing carrying a dog, walking a dog, and wearing fur trim that is a dog. And that is so vile. If you took a dog off of the street that somebody has as a companion and did this, you'd be arrested and charged with animal cruelty. And yet people don't think twice. In fact, once I said to a woman, she had a fur on her dog. This was in Central Park in New York. And I said, your dog is wearing a dog. And she said, yes, completely unconscious. Why your film, Real Fur, is going to be so powerful and is so powerful is that it snaps people out of denial. What has the reaction been to your film? And tell us about the extent to which you spent time, money, effort, and just the courage to go deep into this very disturbing issue.
So Jen, I have to be really honest with you. So I was one of these people. I was wearing a macaque jacket and it had a big fur hoodie around it. And so I'm as guilty as everybody else. And I did have a dog and I just didn't make that connection. And so once I started waking up and just starting asking questions, like, where is this hoodie coming from? Where is this fur coming from? It's a simple question. If you ask it, you can really find out in 2 seconds. You can go online, find out where this is coming from. And once I started investigating, I discovered the horrors of trapping, and I discovered something even worse called fur farming. And so once I started realizing this, I was just appalled. I was just like, oh my God, this is where the fur comes from. I went and talked to Camille Lapchuk, who's a lawyer in Canada, and I asked her, I was like, what am I wearing? And she told me it's a raccoon dog. So not that any other creature would be, it's bad, but it was a raccoon dog, and it had been mislabeled and pretended to be a raccoon, like Asiatic raccoon. And I thought to myself, so I'm actually wearing my dog this now whole time, and I'm cuddling with him at the same time. It was a shock to me. So this movie is based on that, because most people just don't make the connection. I don't know how I didn't do it, and that's what I show, that I didn't make the connection. And once I did, and once I found out, then I had no excuse to wear this jacket anymore. And that's what I want to show to people as well, that this is the horrors, that this is the cruelty, this is the torture that the animals live throughout their life. So their whole existence is so torturous. The whole year is full of this like unspeakable stuff. And then once you get into it, you'll never wear it again. And so that's my hope from this movie, to show you that this is just unbelievable, and to let it go.
It is torture. And the fur farm footage, we're not showing it to you here because it is so horrifying. As Tim Gunn said, he went back and wept. It is the worst thing. And thanks to Mr. Gunn and other leaders in fashion, and thanks to PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, leading the way and fighting this so ferociously over so many years, so many of the holdouts ultimately gave up. Michael Kors, okay, he gave up and relinquished fur, not after he was first sent the video. First, they write letters politely. Then they send the video showing the horrors. And then when the manufacturer, the designer, doesn't respond with compassion and go, oh my God, this is barbaric medieval torture of animals, I should stop, then a campaign begins. And indeed, Michael Kors was confronted at the Metropolitan Museum of Art during one of his most a pinnacle of his career, and animal rights activists invaded it and put up banners and jumped on the stage. And it was shortly after that he announced after a meeting with PETA that he was giving up fur. Now, PETA has also led the way, and activists in New York, Donnie Moss, and many others. He wouldn't want to be singled out because he always says it's a team effort, but there were many people in New York who had really, really campaigned against Canada Goose. Now, here we go. PETA said, we did it. After years of relentless campaigning by PETA, our affiliates and our supporters, including protests, exposés, and bold acts, Canada Goose will finally stop using fur. The huge victory will spare coyotes from being violently caught and killed. That was a long campaign. They resisted it for a long time, and they still haven't. It's a process. One of the frustrating things is that these designers don't say, okay, starting today. It's they want to sell out their inventory. They have to change their method of operation, but we will take whatever victory we can get. Do you see that we've reached the tipping point, Taimoor?
Well, I'd like to first go back and what you were saying about the activists and all the people involved and all the agencies involved. I'd like to thank them for all the work that they've put in. It's really their work that's causing all these brands to go for free, to ditch these inhumane practices and come up with new technologies. So PETA, the SAVE movement, animal justice, everybody is combining their team efforts and doing these joint campaigns that they're doing. And that's why these people are forced to do that. I mean, Canada Goose is actually one of the people that are featured in this movie as well. So we show how when they were just not budging from not using fur, and because of all the combined efforts of everybody, they stopped using fur. But again, I think even though this is a really big win, it's just another way of humane washing, greenwashing again. It's just another way of them greenwashing because they're still using feathers. I mean, they haven't stopped using animal products. So the point is that they stop use animal products, whether it be fur, whether it be feathers, whatever skin you're using, it's outdated. It's like from the prehistoric era. We've got something called Primaloft. Used by the Marines, it's used by mountaineers. Your jacket is lighter, your jacket stays drier, and everybody uses that. No one thinks of wearing fur up on the mountain. But yes, this is a very interesting point in history because we are at the tipping point right now. It's just about to go to the point where fur it will no longer be allowed. And I really implore everybody to come together right now on this. If we all stand together as one voice, this will be gone forever. And a major part of the movie is me going and talking to all of these agencies, and now we're doing a united front. Everybody is coming together on the 26th of November, and we are showing support for the campaign and for the bill as well that's about to be passed just about to be tabled in Canada. It's for the first time in history, we're going to come up with a bill to ban fur. And that's
really in Canada. That's in Canada, correct? We need it all over the world, but we have to start somewhere. We are talking to Taimoor Choudhry, who is the filmmaker, who has brought us this incredible film, Real Fur. Here's the trailer.
I thought Canadians looked very friendly towards animals, but the kind of cruelty that was just behind all of this fashion, how did that happen?
Fur has no future in fashion. When we buy something, it means an animal suffers or doesn't.
Canada is one of the only modern countries that doesn't have animal welfare legislation.
And now with COVID-19, they are exterminating all the minks on the farms.
I've been charged with break and enter at several of these farms.
They were in these little tiny cages. I went back to my hotel and I'll be honest, I wept.
I've never had to kill an animal to stay warm. It's so useless.
These animals can't speak, but they can scream when they're being murdered.
So realfurfilm.com, that's where you go if you want to learn more about the film. Where is it going to be shown, and how can people get involved in this movement?
Well, here is our artwork for the movement. It's pretty simple. You scan this code wherever you see it. You can go on the Instagram. You can go on our website. It's like we've made it as simple as possible. Any way you can come and show up.
Put it closer. There you go. Right in there. You could scan that. I want to see if it works with my phone from here. It's amazing, these barcodes. Let's see. I'll take a photo of it. Yep. Open in Safari. I got it. Linktree. Real Fur. I did it myself. Okay. Thank you. Yes. I just did it myself on my phone and it worked perfectly. Wow, high tech. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people, and I've had these conversations. I grew up in Midtown Manhattan, so I cannot tell you how many incidents I've had where I tell people nonviolently, compassionately, shame on you for wearing fur. And people will have all sorts of excuses. One of them is, oh, this is my grandmother's fur. Now, PETA has an answer for that. They say if you have fur in your closet, mark it so it can't be resold and give it to them. And they give it to, this is my understanding, homeless people who need to stay warm in the cold during the winter. And they also give it to animal shelters where animals are on hard concrete floors, and they can then be warmer or at least more comfortable on the floors. Again, nobody needs fur for warmth. As you mentioned, when they're climbing Mount Everest, they're not wearing fur coats. So what do you say to those people who, there's so many excuses? Oh, well, it's just a little bit of fur. Okay. So that, I think, is one of the biggest misnomers, because once you take an animal's fur, it doesn't matter how much you use of that animal, the animal's dead.
Well, that's exactly like saying, "Oh, let me take a little bit of your skin." So you can't take a little bit of someone's skin. I mean, just imagine what kind of like feelings and positive work and like this negative energy that you're putting on yourself while you're wearing this as well. I was looking at this thing online, and the Dalai Lama in 2004 came out and said, "Whoever wears fur is not a king to me." And so in Tibet, they actually hand down furs from generations on to generations. It's the only form of wealth they have. But all of them came out, the whole of Tibet came out into the village centers, and there was a mass burning because that's how they released the spirit of the animal. And there was the biggest mass burning in the history of the world. Now, these are poor people, they don't have anything else. They understood that these creatures need to be given peace. And so please, if you can get your thing to a shelter, that's great. If you can't do anything else, just burn it and release its energy. You can't keep that spirit of the animal trapped with you forever.
So what's next? Really, I personally believe, this is just my observation, I could be wrong, that the pandemic is what really put us into the tipping point where the major CEOs who make these decisions have said things like, "The time has come," end quote. That's the person who is at the head of a ginormous fashion conglomerate that includes many department stores. "The future of fashion is fur-free." This is another statement. And I personally believe that when the world saw 18 million mink approximately being massacred and thrown in dumpsters, and one of the young men that you profiled was the hero who went in and documented this and videotaped it, and it is gut-wrenching. And you see these animals just piled up, bloody carcasses, 18 million. And then they buried them in shallow graves in Denmark, and they rose up because they were buried in shallow graves. The carcasses rose up, and they were called zombie mink. And I personally believe, because mink is supposed to be glamorous, that this robbed mink, and by extension all fur, of any shred of glamour. It was just revolting. It was something out of a Freddy Krueger movie. It was something out of a horror movie. It was really a horror movie. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm sorry. So I've actually gone into one of these farms, and it was a farm that was being shut down in BC as well. So just to show you that this is happening all over the world. And we went and investigated, and I found that they had cleared a bunch of trees and far away from the site itself. And I found these mass graves. And so I walked on these graves, and I didn't realize I was on this big hump. And literally, it looked like something from out of the Lord of the Rings in the marshes. And you could feel their spirits. You could feel the blood in the air. And right behind it was somebody's house. It was in their backyard. And I'm like, how is this even allowed? I was reading a report from the UN, and it says 75% of all zoonotic diseases emerge from close proximity to these animals on these farms. And so, and now we see COVID coming out of these farms as well. So, like, what are we waiting for? Are we waiting for a next pandemic to come and hit us again? Another form of disease? I mean, the link is clearly there. The science is there. Everything is there. It doesn't take a scientist to realize that these diseases are going to come. And again, we're going to be locked down at home. And again, we're going to go through all of this. We need to shut these down now, not only for the sake of the cruelty and what's happening to these animals, but for our own sakes. Nature is fighting back. It's trying to give us a message. You need to stop the cruelty to these things. It's coming and really affecting us now too.
And one thing that I'd like to say is that I see fur as a contrarian indicator. To me, it's a totem that people wear when they're socially insecure. And now it's not a status symbol anymore. In other words, people used to wear fur to say, look, I can afford to wear this coat that's expensive. But now it's shifted and it's not considered a status symbol. It's an embarrassment. So anybody who's still in that old mindset that somehow this is a fashion statement, to me, it betrays you're out of step with the times and you are very, very socially insecure, that you need to walk around in a fur. And the final thing I'd like to say is that the faux furs, there are people, I'm not personally in favor of faux fur. I don't think it's necessary. And unfortunately, they look so much like real fur, it's impossible to tell the difference. So it still kind of promotes the whole concept. But where do you stand on that, on the faux fur issue?
Yeah, I think you're setting a bad example. I don't understand why you have to have something furry to look beautiful. It's just Tim Gunn says it really well. It's like he says you look like a vulgar atrocity. That was his words. And this is coming from one of the biggest fashion icons in the world. And I completely agree with it. Whether you wear fake fur, whether you wear real fur, you're still depicting you're looking like I'm sorry to say, you're looking like a really insecure person. And really, I don't like to take all the blame on the people, because most of Hollywood is always dressed up in this big fur. You see like these movies like Hustler coming in, you see the fur industry pushing it in and subtly advertising to us that this is glamour. And you see our favorite actors wearing fur and flaunting them around in LA. It's so warm in LA. How can you wear furs in LA? So that's still happening. The fur industry is fighting back. So it's not all our fault. We watch it on TV, we see our favorite actors wear it, and we're like, hey, this looks cool. I want to do it too. They did that for us to smoking as well. So it's just another form of like mind control. So we have to break out of this mind control. We have to wake up. And it's really like, sometimes it seems that, oh, what can one person do? But you can actually just, if you get up and you sign a petition or call your MP and just take part in some of the protests or something that's happening, that's all we need. I know it's in Canada. I know there's a fur farm ban bill going on over there. And that's what we want the rest of the world to see as well. You can start this kind of movement in your own country as well. It's the first time in history it's being done over here. You guys can do it too. It's that simple.
And I think that celebrities need to be shamed when they wear fur. I want to thank you so much. This has been such an incredible conversation. And check out this film. It is unbelievable. It's real fur, and it explains why this is just morally wrong on every level. We need to end it. We need to end it now. And Taimoor, you are my hero for making this film. You are my hero. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on your show. And please, this is really about helping the animals. Go to makefurfarmshistory.com and please come and join us in this movement against banning fur. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.